Action.
Hey everybody. So today I'm going to try something different. I'm going to do my own interview. And I do know pieces of the story. Um, the story is interesting, it is unique, it's different. So I'm going to have him go ahead and sit in this chair and introduce himself. So you can go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the people your name and where you're from.
All right. My name is Mo, and I'm from Southern Illinois.
Okay. Mo, so what makes your story so unique, so different that you think people should hear about it?
The fact that I thought most of the things that I'm about to talk about was normal, and I'm realizing a lot of people haven't been through what I've been through, and the ones that have need to know that it's not normal.
Okay. All right. So if you can go ahead, I mean, you could start where you want to start. You could start at your present day. You could start, as far as back you can remember.
So my first thoughts is when I was about maybe 4 or 5. Well, let me go back before that, give you some backstory. Because I was raised by my grandmother. And my grandmother on my father's side, just the crazy part, because my mother killed my father while she was pregnant with me. And somehow, some way, I ended up with my grandmother on my father's side.
Okay. Can you say that again?
My mother killed my father while she was pregnant with me, and I ended up growing up with my grandmother on my father's side.
Okay. Go ahead.
And so I'm trying to see how to put it, make it to get it where you understand it, but it was like good upbringing slash chaos. And I say slash chaos. To some people, it'll be totally chaos, but for me, it was fun. It was enjoyable. But as I got older, I realized that a lot of stuff I witnessed wasn't things you should have witnessed as a
Okay.
kid.
So let me stop you just for a second. How did you end up in your grandmother's care? Was you in her care full time, or was it like how did you end up just living with your grandmother full time?
I'm not quite sure. All I know is I've been with her since I was 6 months old. I'm not sure the story that was told to me was basically
Okay,
I can
so
just stay with her for a little bit and never
do you
went
think,
back.
I don't want to sound mean or messed up, but do you think that was like a trade?
Mm,
Like you
that's
killed
a
my
thought.
son and I give you my son?
That's a thought. Yeah,
Wow.
it's possible.
Wow.
I don't know, but it's possible.
Okay, go ahead.
But I won't say that because I got other siblings and they were in foster care and stuff like that. So I really don't know. It's one of them things where it's up in the air. Like, just, mm.
And I
But
say that because 6 months is very young. Maybe if you were like 3, 4, 5, that's a little different. But 6 months is an infant.
yeah, I know. But that's all I knew was my grandmother. Like, my mother, I kind of don't remember her until I was at least 4 or 5 years old.
So she
And
did come around. Like she just didn't not see you again.
she came around like once every so many years. I would see her. And she'd come around, tell a couple lies, and then leave. That's probably why I hate liars to this day because I always remember that from a little kid. Saying she'll be back and never come back.
Wow. How many other kids do she have?
I think it's a total of 11 of us.
Just from your mother.
Hmm
Okay.
And I got a brother who's and a sister. I met them once, and my other siblings, I met them after I was, well, one I met, well, two of them I met when I was a kid. And the rest of them, from what I can remember, I don't remember them till I got grown. I was 18 when I found out about them. So it's a little shaky on that side.
Okay.
But let me get back into the story. All right, so with that being said, it was a thing of my mama killed my daddy, and she was while she was pregnant with me. And it's, where the story sounds, it sounds like she was there with another dude when she killed him. Because she say she stabbed him, ran out of the room, and she heard a gunshot. And everybody know it had to be somebody else in that room. And I believe he came home acting a damn fool because he's caught another man in the house. And they got his ass. That's the only thing I could see that happened with that situation. But I'm gonna move on from that. And I'm gonna go on to the, well, I guess next point of, like, probably when I was 4 or 5. I remember growing up in the environment that was like, now that I look back on it, chaos. I wouldn't want my kids to ever have to go through that. But at the time, it was normal. Because I remember I got uncles and aunts that's like 9 years older than me, 8 years older than me, 6 years older than me. But they was kind of like super advanced, off the porch. And I'm like 5, 6 years old. And I remember they used to throw parties. I don't know where my grandmother used to be at that time. They would throw parties. And every time they threw a party, the house would get shot up. I remember one time one of my older uncles, which he wasn't that old at the time. It seemed like he was that old, but he was like probably 21, 22. He came over to try to de-escalate it, and he got shot. And they shot through the door and shot him in the kitchen. And he was all right, though. He didn't die from it, but I remember seeing it. It was crazy. And it was just so much chaos when we stayed over that way. And I remember next thing I remember that was crazy, was my uncle that's like 9 years older than me, him shooting at people across the street, running back and forth to their house. They shooting over at the house. Just total chaos. Just wow, West. It was just crazy.
Was it like gang related or just people not knowing how to act?
No, what it was, now that I'm older, we've talked about it, and it was more of a thing of, we wasn't from that neighborhood, and he wanted to sell dope. I think he was like 15, maybe 16. He sold dope out of our yard, and they didn't want him to do it, so he told them, basically, I'm not gonna stop. We're gonna shoot at each other, kill each other, what we gotta do, but I ain't stopping because I live here. That was basically the gist of it, and that kept a lot of chaos going on. When we stayed in the same house, I remember this one guy. He was like, everybody knew him. I was a kid, so I didn't know him like that, but I used to see him. And he got hit by a car. It was about 12 o'clock at night when he got hit by a car. And he flew in the air, did about 4 flips, slid probably a quarter mile down the street. And I remember as a little kid sitting out there watching it. And he laid out there for maybe about, it had to be about 6 hours. Because I remember we sat out there to daylight, and they still haven't came to pick him up, and blood had ran about a block down the street. He couldn't have had no blood left in him. And as a little kid, probably 6, I couldn't have been over 6. Looking at that was crazy. And I still remember the days after, they didn't get the blood up. Days after, we walked to the store, and this blood just clotted in the curve of the street.
Oh, wow. I bet you that gave you a lot of nightmares. It would have me. I was a scary kid. Stuff like that scared the hell out of me.
I can't remember it bothering me like that. I always remember, like, every time I walked through there, seeing that blood again, even after it was gone. Yeah, that was some crazy stuff.
So as you got older, did things like calm down, or do you think it got worse?
No, not really, because we moved from where we stand there and to the next place. And the crazy thing is, the day that we moved, the people that was helping us move was some of my uncle friends. And they got into it, and it was our buddies. They got into it. The day that we moving stuff in, they got into it. One of them shot the other one right in the front yard. I seen it when it was messed up, but I seen it when it happened. Yeah, it was jacked up. He shot him. It was just crazy.
So do you think any of these events was fueled by drugs and alcohol?
Probably alcohol. Probably alcohol. That's what I'm thinking. Knowing how alcohol do you. Yeah, I'm assuming alcohol. But when we moved there, it only got more intensified because everybody was a little bit older. It was just different things going on. Like, for instance, when we moved there, that was like the family house because my aunt stayed right around the corner. And this was like the house that everybody congregated at. All my aunts, uncles, well, actually, most of my aunts and uncles still live there. And but all the cousins, everybody congregated there, and all their friends. And it was a house full of people at all times, non-stop. So, from what I can remember, hearing stories is from the older people. It didn't start off as a dope house, but ever since I can remember, the house was like booming, selling drugs, selling drugs out the house, and it was like it was crazy, because that's what made me want to be a drug dealer. I remember sitting back there with one of my older cousins. He wasn't much older than me, like 4 or 5 years older than me, and he was selling drugs, and everybody was gone. He was the only one there making money, and I seen somebody walk up and tell him, give me 5 20s. And I'm probably about 10 years old at the time, so I'm adding that up. I'm like, 5 20s? Hold up, somebody just $100 in a couple seconds. I'm like, yeah, I'm selling dope when I get a little older. That was what was on my mind. And just, I didn't really get into, I tried it, but I didn't really get into selling drugs like that. I tried it a little bit. It wasn't my thing. I'd rather get a job, work. I tried it for a little while, probably about a year. It didn't work very long though. But back to this house. This house was like,
How many kids did your grandmother have?
total or at the house?
Total and at the house.
Well, she had 12 total.
Okay.
But at the house, it was what, 3, 4 at the house.
Okay. And were these four like the ones that you said like maybe 9 years and older than you?
Yeah, because we grew up in this, like, the whole time, we all grew up in this house together until I was like 16.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's when everybody dispersed. But that's when everything calmed down around that time. But up until that point, it was total chaos. Like, for instance, I remember my cousin, he killed his girlfriend in the house by accident. But I remember I was upstairs, it was a Sunday, I was watching Martin, and it used to be a lot of stuff going on, gunshots. It was like normal, so I ain't thinking of it. I hear a gunshot, and I hear people yelling and running and screaming, but I'm thinking they're outside, I'm not knowing they're in the house. So I heard a guy say, "You killed my sister." And when he said that, it caught my attention, so I run toward the back door, because we used to go in and out the back door. I run toward the back door, and I don't know what told me to go to the basement. I don't know if because I heard people running up from the basement, but I go to the basement, and I look, get a little bit closer, and look, I realize, oh shoot, she down here dead. Yeah, shot her right in the middle of the forehead, and brains and stuff was coming out, leaking blood everywhere. It was just crazy, because what happened was, by him being young, he wasn't number 17. He didn't playing with a gun. What happened was he had a revolver, and he put a bullet in there trying to scare her. But what he did was he put the bullet in the chamber to the left side. And what he didn't understand is when you pull the trigger, it revolves and hit the next bullet. And he ended up killing him. And man, that was terrible. And then the crazy part is, we went around to my aunt's house, who stayed around the corner. We ran around there, stayed there for a couple hours till everybody came, the police came, corner, everybody left. And then these suckers bring me right back home. I had to sleep by myself that night.
Wow.
I'm thinking like, I got a vacation away from that house.
You sleep in the basement?
No, I was upstairs, but still, I didn't want to sleep in that house.
I don't blame you.
Not that night, especially.
I don't blame you.
After seeing that kind of...
So did your cousin do any time for that, or was it like accidental?
No, he ended up with manslaughter. He did about, I think he did 3 years maybe.
I mean,
yeah,
it ain't good, but that's really good.
Yeah, he did 3 years, I think, because it was accident. Even her brother was, her brother was his best friend.
Mm-hmm.
and he knew what happened, but he, you know what I'm saying, it didn't make him feel better about it, but he, you know, was one of the people that, you know, when they interviewed him, told him what happened. So
Okay.
they knew it wasn't intentional.
Okay.
Yeah. But man, I remember that house. I remember one time watching Joker get raped at the house. That was crazy.
Mm.
I was, I couldn't have been no more than, the max I could have been was 10 maybe. And I don't know how I ended up at the house with, like, where everybody else was at or what was going on. I don't know how that happened. But I remember he was down, the girl was down there drunk. She was, all of them was teenagers. Nobody was like grown, but all of them was like 16, 17, around that age, 18. And I remember being in the basement, same basement, and it was a bedroom down there. And dude was just, she was, the girl was drunk, laid out, basically over with, done. I remember him just getting on top of her, sucking on her breast, kissing on her neck, and doing all type of stuff. And I always, still to this day, I be trying to figure out like what the heck was he thinking. And then that's why still to this day, I used to, like, when I was growing up as a kid, I used to say I would never deal with a girl that drank, because I saw a drunk girl get took advantage of, and it made me want to not deal with a girl that drank. But that's all I remember though. I don't remember him like trying to penetrate her or nothing. But he might have kicked me away, or maybe I just left. I don't know, but I don't remember no more than that. But I know she was like out of it, gone, and that was kind of crazy. I still think about that now, like how crazy things was at the time. And so, but another thing is, I was thinking about that happened. It's so much happened.
I bet.
It was crazy. It was like,
So, did y'all continue to stay at the house, or, like when did things make a change? You could say,
for me personally, they ain't make a
or
change.
like just for the family, or
When the police came and kicked in the door, and everybody had to leave, disperse.
so was it like a drug bust, or just
Yeah,
like y'all climbing
it
into
was a
bed?
drug bust. The feds came and got my uncle, and they, everybody just left. And when everybody went back, but it wasn't the same though. So it just eventually everybody just left.
Mm,
It was crazy.
that sounds like it. Sounds too
It's
much, too
so
much to
much I'm
handle.
missing out of out of my story, but I can't think of everything right now.
Yeah, it seemed like it's loaded, but you know, we can always make a part two.
Yeah.
But tell me something today. Tell me something good today. Let's change the beat of this video. Tell me something good. Tell me what you're doing now. Tell me how your life has changed for the better.
Well, I don't see it actually change, because I feel like it always been good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just certain things as I get older, I'm learning. For instance, like with my kids, it's certain things I've done, with them that was like the way I talked to them or the way I did certain things because of the way I was brought up. I was brought up rougher. And I'm realizing these kids are a little softer, and you got to be a little more timid with them. You can't treat them the way you was treated. Like for instance, when I was a kid, grown-ups used to just jone me to death. Used to talk about me like a dog. So I learned how to jone. It never bothered me. I learned how to jone. I learned how to, get back at them. But these kids, if you jone them, they go hang themselves. So I learned gotta be a little more softer, because the way I was raised wasn't the correct way. And even with my wife, I've learned certain things. Like I was raised a lot rougher, so I thought it was normal. So when I come off the wrong way or a certain way, she take it as an insult. And to me, it's just like, ain't that how people talk to each other? Ain't that how people act? But I'm learning that ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not it.
I agree. Smart man. Smart man. Smart, very smart man. You have to live, and you then, after you get through living and continue living, you start learning. You learn a lot.
Yeah, but it's so much. Like for it's another thing that I'm forgetting about. Like by me being raised by my grandmother
Mm-hmm.
on my father's side, I remember I had this another thing used to bother me. My aunt, she would do things. She passed. She was one of my favorite aunts at that. She wasn't just a bad aunt. She was one of my favorite aunts. But she did things probably, like I said, I've done, well, you don't know no better. But I remember she used to tell me, oh, you might not even be my brother's son. You might be so-and-so's son. You might be. And as a kid, I'm 10, 9 years old. I'm feeling like crap.
Vulnerable ages.
Yeah, I'm feeling like crap. So still to this day, I never take a 23andMe because of that. Even though I grew up and started to look just like my father, but it scarred me to where I'm scared of a 23andMe or Ancestry.com because I'm scared I'm going to get the wrong information, all because of that. And it bothers me for years.
I don't want to let that deter you from that. It's a good piece of, a good document to have. Just for the future, for your kids and their kids' kids. You know, I always have something of you.
Yeah, you got a point there, but like I said, one of the things I wouldn't want to tinker with. I'll let that be. But there's a few other things that I'm forgetting that I said I want to talk about, but I'm trying to see before we close it out. There's a lot of crazy stuff, there's a lot of crazy stuff. And there's so much other stuff that happened at the house where we lived at. It's ridiculous. Those are just some of the things that jump out at me real easy. And it's easy to get out. But that'll be all of it.
Okay. All right, y'all. So we have Mo here. And we're going to conclude this story. Or maybe we'll come back with a part 2. But if you like this video, like it, subscribe, and share.
And then record. You just trying to stop it. You good. You ain't gotta rush it. Just take it off. Cut that little shit off.